Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the QT2 Systems Beginner Triathlon podcast series. We are at episode 5 today, which focuses on race day. So, in this series, we're joined by veteran coaches, QT2 coaches Jackie Miller and Eric Kahl. Collectively, they've helped hundreds of people get to the starting line of the first triathlon. And through this series, Jackie and Eric have been sharing all their insights on what a beginner should know before they line up for their first race. We've talked about race selection, equipment, training, final race day prep, and here we are, race day. So I'm going to start with you, Eric. Race morning, get there early, right?
Yep. Like I said before, I'm an early riser. I have my little routine before I go to a race, or even before some early workout. So hopefully, uh, the athletes have had a chance to practice race day breakfast. Their nerves are going to be going, so getting through all that stuff, maybe some extra bathroom breaks in between the race or before the race. But like I said, I like to get up early. I take my time. I'll drink my coffee. I'll eat my breakfast. I'll get to the race site fairly early. 90% of the time, I have checked in, picked up the package the day before. So it's, my bike is already, it's got the stickers on. My helmet has the stickers on. My race belt is ready to go. So uh, I tend to get to transition early. And if like I mentioned before, if the racks are not specifically marked on what spot you need to be on, but just more you need to be on this rack. If I get there early, I try to get the ends of the rack, which are less crowded, and then just set up my stuff early on, and then I tend to walk away from transition, just kind of see how the body's feeling, maybe do a little warm up, and then I'll go back into transition, make sure everything's good to go, and then I tend to leave transition and get away from the stress in transition.
Yeah, so you in the last episode, I think you did recommend that people pick up the packet early, but if they can't, race morning, there's always an opportunity to pick up your race packet
Yep.
and get the stickers on the bike if that's needed. Sometimes there's a wristband that goes with it that you might have to wear. Separate from packet pickup too, though, there's usually your timing chip. And that's like some people don't realize that once you pick up your packet, whether it's the day before or race morning, chances are you'll need to get your timing chip on race morning. So you bring your race number over to the timing chip area and make sure you get the timing chip. And
Yeah,
that goes,
especially nowadays with the new disposable chips,
yeah,
it's getting easier and simpler to do that for sure.
yeah. And Jackie, where does the timing chip go?
Your left ankle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I can go on either one, but left is better because then it doesn't get in the way of your drivetrain on your
Correct.
bike.
It won't get caught in
And
the chain.
if it's loose, I like to put a safety pin so it won't fall off in a swim. And that's one less worry.
Yeah.
If the Velcro seems to be loose.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a really good tip because you definitely want to be stressing in the swim that your race number is going to end up at the bottom of the lake.
yeah. And if it's like the disposable ones, sometimes those are a little sharper edged. And then it's a good idea to put body glide around your ankle where that's going to go so you don't get taped and blistered there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good tip.
Body
So,
glide is your friend on race day.
oh
Remember
yeah.
that for many, many reasons.
Yes. In many areas.
I'm like,
Many areas. Yep.
down here, down
Yep.
here.
When in
Horse bra.
doubt, body glide.
When in doubt,
Yep, yep.
exactly. Exactly. So you set up like transition, Eric, as you mentioned, like it could be more open, it could be your number might be on there specifically. So when you go in and race morning, make sure that you check it out. If your number is on there, if your number is 812, you got to look for 812 and the bike facing out from the rack. So the seat on
Yep.
the rack. And then sometimes though it might say, 800 to 850 here, or sometimes may say all sprint distance, but
Pick
put
a
it whatever
rack.
you want.
Yes.
Right. So once you leave the bike, you leave your bike stuff, you leave your running things, your race belt, all that stuff there. And then I think we touched on this in the last episode, but then doing like a reconnaissance of the transition, right? Knowing where swim in,
Yeah,
bike in, bike. I mean, and that might be different races. Some races have bike in, bike out in the same place.
area.
Some people
Yeah,
have the bike in and the run in. I mean, so that's just really knowing that in advance, right?
I
I like
tend to
to
walk.
physically walk. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah,
I like to physically, if I can't do it the day before, if like the bike check-in sometimes is the day before, but if not, I again get there very early and physically walk it out multiple times. Like, okay, here's where I'm going to come in from the swim. Here's how I'm going to get to my rack. And if it's nice if there's a landmark, so maybe it's a garbage can or a certain tree or one of the boom lights, something that's not going to be moved. Like I don't know, something that could be moved, maybe not use that, but and then walk out where you're coming in from the bike and you're going to drop your bike. And then you don't have to worry about the run because you just leave and you don't come back after that. But definitely walk them off a few times, coming in, going out, and look for landmarks to know where your rack is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do
And
the
don't
same thing.
look
I
for the
like to
bike.
count the racks as well. You know,
Yeah.
if I'm coming in from the
Yeah.
swim, I'm like 7 racks on the left, you know, it gives
Hmm.
me something to do as soon as I run through it. I'm like, okay, 1, 2. Uh, some people are like, oh, I was looking for this bike. Well, if the bike is out, the bike is not there, right? I've seen people mark it with balloons, and I don't think they're allowed to do that anymore. I've seen chalk on the ground, but best way to do it, just look for landmarks, like Jackie said, or count how many racks it is till you're there and walk through it for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah. I went for a while where I was putting colored handlebar tape on my bikes, like bright blue or pink or something, because I'm like, my bike looked like everyone else's bike. It was black and gray. So like I like tried to put something on there. But yeah, the landmark, I had one race, I think I came back to the wrong bike 3 times. I knew it was the wrong bike, but again, it's like the brain's not working. So like exactly knowing where you left your bike and having that landmark that doesn't move
Yeah.
I
really.
had one of my first 70.3s where I lost my bike rack somehow. And I realized I went too far. And so then it's because you're not thinking properly. So instead of just going back out and running down and back to the proper rack, I climbed under the rack, thinking it would be faster to climb under the rack versus running all the way.
We all have our stories though, right? I mean, live and learn. Live and learn for sure. So, all right. So after all this is set up, there's usually like a pre-race briefing, which is mandatory and you should attend for sure. And that's the time that they're going to tell you if it's wetsuit legal or not. Right. And the rules are a little different if it's USAT or if it's an Ironman branded event. But if it is wet, USAT races are 78, I think, and Ironman is 76.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah. So, but you should know, it's in the race book. They should
Yep.
tell on race morning, bring your wetsuit with you, even if you're not sure, right? I had one race, I'm like, oh, there's no way this is wetsuit legal. Well, it was. The water temperature dropped 4 degrees overnight and it was wetsuit legal. So always have it. Um, the race directors, I would say that the race directors try to make things wetsuit legal if they can. They'll go out really far from
Yes,
shore
yes,
and drop it deep if they can. I mean, they want
this
to.
is true.
So, so have it with you if you're planning on wearing a wetsuit. You don't have to. If the temperatures are above the wetsuit range, then it becomes wetsuit optional. Eric, maybe you can explain what that means.
Yeah, some events they have like a threshold where it's not wetsuit legal, uh, but you could wear a wetsuit, so it's wetsuit optional. But a lot of times they'll also clarify that you will not be eligible for awards if you choose to um, use the wetsuit when it's above the threshold of whatever brand race it is.
Mhm.
Sometimes they allow beginners to do that just for safety reasons if they feel more comfortable swimming in the wetsuit. Um, Again, I think we mentioned this several times before. Nothing new on race day, so hopefully you had a chance to do open water. Hopefully you had a chance to practice with your wetsuit if you're going to have the option of wearing a wetsuit, just to minimize any issues that day.
Mhm. Okay, so you're all set. You listen to the race briefing, everything is good. what does it, so that's usually, 15 minutes before the start. Um, if you can, you want it, like Jackie mentioned, right? You want to get into the water in the morning if the race allows it, right? For practice, warm up, swim. It's always nice, even if you're not going to swim, just getting in and putting the, water on you, is a nice thing. You're ready to go. What does the swim start look like? And Jackie, I'll have you do this and maybe go over the different types of swim starts that people might see.
With the sprints, it's usually it can be by age category, and some, depending on the size of the race, if it's a smaller race, it might just be all women over 50, all men over 50, all people under, all women under 50, kind of like that. If it's a bigger race, it might go more age group of like, you know, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, something like that. So it could be an age group start. It could be a rolling start, which is more for the bigger races. But some sprints have them started usually back with COVID. So it's just usually 4 people at a time. Every 5 seconds, they'll let 4 people into the little archway, and then they'll do a little timer or horn or whistle, and then 4 people go. And then a few seconds later, 4 more people go. So those are the main starts right now. It could be a beach start where you're running into the water, or it could be an in the water start if it's more of a lake swim or a river swim. I don't know too many sprints that are in a river though, but those are would be the main types of swims.
Mhm. And then let's assume it's like a wave swim. So you've got maybe, 50 to 100 people, maybe more than that in your wave. Talk about where you might want to set up if you're a more confident swimmer versus if you feel a little less confident in water.
So if you feel confident, it's closer, it's better to get up to the front because you can get out, get with the faster group. Versus if you're a faster swimmer and you start in the back, you're going to be trapped behind slower swimmers and you're going to get frustrated and you're going to get blocked in where you're not going to be able to get around them for a little while. You also want to look at if it's a swim that has any kind of a current left or right. You want to look when you do your pre-swim warm up, look which way the current is going. So you know what side to line up. If it's a rapid current going left, you don't want to start too far where you're going to get pushed around the path, the turn buoy, and then have to swim against the current to get that turn buoy onto your proper shoulder, whichever way you're going. And then, keep in mind if you're a slower swimmer and you're a beginner, it's okay to start in the very back. It's okay to walk in if it's a beach start and keep your heart rate down somewhat if it's going to be up no matter what because you're nervous. But you don't have to rush into the swim if you're a first timer and you are scared of the swim. Just walk in casually, and just start slow.
Mhm. And it's okay too, if you're like, feel a sense of panic, it's okay to hang out, lie on your
Yep,
back, calm
yep,
down. There's also usually kayaks or paddle boards or something in the water. It's okay to grab a hold of one. You can't have the
absolutely.
paddle while you're attached, but you can
Right.
do that and you can stay there as long as you want. So
Yep,
if you, I mean, I'll say too that like if you do feel like you're in distress in the water, you should signal to someone that you're in distress. There's people out there, there's
definitely.
lifeguards out there that are looking. So if you get to the point where you don't feel like you can, you're panicking, then reach out and make
And
sure.
realistically, even if you're not near a support person and you are really in trouble, another athlete is not going to just let you like, oh, no, my race is more important than saving you from drowning. Everybody's pretty nice about helping if you were in an emergency situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't hesitate if that's like if you're there at that position. So usually swims with the sprint, they're usually a box shape of some sort, right? Clockwise or counterclockwise. Turn buoys always have to stay. You have to be outside turn buoys
Yep,
from legal. Sometimes the numbers are on the cap, sometimes they're not. But if you start veering off course, someone lets you know too. I mean, that's where the kayak,
right.
they
And again, like mentioning the turn buoys, the more competitive people are going to be close to the buoy because they're trying to swim the line pretty tight. So if you're a newer athlete and you're scared of getting hit and getting into the crowds, then you can just go wide from the turn buoy. You don't have to be right up where the crowd is, and just swim in your own space and go out a little bit. It's not going to add that much time on to your swim.
Yeah, I think the key is just get out of the swim, calm, done, right? And be ready to get onto
Made
the
it.
bike. Yeah, and swim exiting too. I always tell people to swim as far as they possibly can before they stand up
Yes,
because it's easier to swim through water than just to
absolutely.
run through water.
Like swim till you're touching the sand or the dirt or whatever it might be.
Yeah. And oftentimes there's people, if it's a weird exit, you might have people there, like if it's a ramp or something, you'll have volunteers that are helping you to get you up and out of the water. And then you're running with your wetsuit, right? So what are you doing,
Mhm.
Eric? Are you keeping the wetsuit on till you get to your bike? Do you start taking it off? What's your what
Depending on the exit, but 90% of the time, by the time I'm completely out of the water, the wetsuit's already out. Normally if depending again on the exit, I'll try to break away the wetsuit and start peeling the arms off. And then by the time it depends, some transitions I'll run with my legs still in the wetsuit all the way into transition. If it's a sandy beach, I don't want to be getting extra sand on me, so I'll run with the wetsuit already half peeled till I get to my bike, and then yank it down a couple times, step on the wetsuit on both feet, and just peel them off. It's not a pretty sight. You just want to get out of them as quick as you can, and then I have my little routine on, walk up, helmet first, got glasses, shoes, type thing, to try to get out of transition fast and smooth.
Yeah. And you have to just one of the rules, helmet has to be buckled before
Yep,
you exit transition. So just make sure
correct.
that's
Yep.
done. Yeah, get out and then wetsuit, just you drop it next to, your other stuff. Just make sure it's contained. One note too is write your name on your wetsuit. Wetsuits get thrown around and lost, so it's always good to have
Yep,
your name on it. So you run out. So then there's usually a mount line, right? Right outside of
correct.
transition. There's often volunteers there, race officials telling you, okay, mount here, mount here. And I think this is one of those to take your time, right? Because it's stressful. Everyone's coming out and they're all like still worked up. Take the time you need, right?
Again, yeah, and it all goes
And
back to practicing, right? Because how often when you go for a bike ride, you're actually running and you may try to do a flying mount or whatever way you try to get on the bike. It doesn't happen very often on a regular bike ride. So it goes back to the practice your transition. How are you going to get on the bike? I tend to keep my cycling shoes already clipped on the bike. I'll use rubber band to keep the shoes in place, and then I'll do a flying mount, and then I'll pedal a few times with my foot on top of the shoes, get away from the crowd and the chaos of the mount line, and then I'll slide my feet in the shoes and fasten them, and out I go. Um, I try to, like I said, I try to get away from that mount line and the dismount line because that tends to be the chaos line
Yeah.
either way.
yes, you don't have to mount right at the line. You can move to the left or the right or up ahead.
Mhm. Yeah. And I put my shoes on in transition. I run with my bike shoes and I just get on normal. I've tried the flying. I've tried. I'm like, yeah, it's too stressful for me. Maybe I never
I
practiced enough,
I
but
run in my shoes too. Yep.
yeah. But it's find again, practicing either way. Like if you're doing it running with your shoes or you're doing it with your shoes on the bike, practicing and knowing and just like being able to get into it.
And I would recommend practicing both, running in your bike shoes, but I would probably not recommend the shoes on the bike flying mount if you're a beginner.
Mhm.
But if you are going to do that, make sure you're very proficient at it and make sure you practiced it many times over because that is one of the most entertaining places, not to be mean, but if you're spectating, one of the most entertaining places is to watch people at the bike mount and they have their shoes in their bike and they have no idea and they're just, I'm like, you're just wasting so much time right now, or they just fall over and they
Yeah.
can't even do it. So just make sure you be proficient at it.
And then on the flip side, when they're coming back off of the bike and they're
Yeah, same.
crashing
Yeah,
because they
yeah,
forgot that they couldn't get out. So practice, practice, practice.
yes.
So
Absolutely.
so the bike, pretty easy, just rules on the bike, right? Stay when you're riding, always stay to the right, pass on the left. Know the rules are, the officials will go through that in the pre-race briefing in terms of how much time you have to pass just be expeditious, right? If you're going to pass and go, go over. There are refs on the course. You'll get penalties if you get too, to get too close sometimes. So,
And know the rules.
I
yeah.
know the rule. Yeah, that's the big thing. Different races will have similar rules. It's more the distance, how many bike lengths you have to be behind the rider. But just know the rules. And the other big thing about for the beginners is there's no headsets allowed on the bike or the run. It's for athlete safety. They should be able to hear if the referee's talking to them or if there's other cyclists coming around. So no music, no headset, and pay attention to what you're doing and what others are doing, because sometimes you'll see somebody that's not paying attention, and you want to try to avoid any crashes or anything like that.
In my early days during his local sprint, and I knew the rules, but I wasn't thinking because you're thinking, not thinking sometimes. And I saw a friend, and I was riding next to them, and we were just chit chatting. And then we also knew the referee, and she's like, "Jackie, stop talking, move on. I'm gonna have to give you a blocking penalty." I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, you can run with someone, but on the bike, it's not safe.
yeah, yeah,
That. And which is too, if you are passing another cyclist, letting them know that you're passing, giving them enough room and letting them know that you're passing too, on your
yeah,
left, on your left, on your, so that you're aware of that happening so that it keeps it safer. So finish the bike, dismount line, right? Just get off with or without your shoes, however, your preference is, get off safely. So then you run your bike into transition.
With your helmet still strapped, you're not supposed to take your helmet off until the bike is physically on the rack. And then, you go through the same routine of peel your helmet off, put your cycling shoes on, socks or no socks, grab your race belt, any hydration or visor, whatever you need, and start leaving transition.
Yep. So you're on the
Keep it
run.
simple.
Yeah. Keep it simple. You're on the run. Run often has aid stations. So if you don't want to carry, there's usually one every mile or so in general in the sprint races, right? And that's the easy part. There's not as many rules on the run. I mean, it's not the easy part because it's the last in the run, it's usually,
when you have the most control over.
but it's the least complicated part anyway.
Yes.
Just one foot in front of the other, and you can run, you can walk, you can crawl if you have to, but the idea just you keep on going. You can stop if you want to. You've got spectators on the course, you can stop and high five them or do whatever, and I think like taking in all the energy of the spectators on the run is really good. Like people are all cheering. I love that. You're looking great. It's like, no, I'm not, but thank you anyway.
Exactly.
It's nice to have that cheering for other people on the course, wishing them luck. I think, yeah, the smile goes a long way on the run.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, a couple things. Well, what Jackie said, the run is the one that you tend to have the most control, but you're most tired by the time you get to the run. And for most athletes, the run is the hardest part anyway. So
For sure.
pace yourself, start slow, don't blow up, right? Start slow, and if you feel like you can go a little faster, you can speed up. I think a lot of times beginners, the biggest mistake on the run is going out too fast, and then halfway through the run or a mile into the run, they're like, "Ooh, I'm done," and then you start the walk or whatever. But again, take it all in, enjoy the event, enjoy the run. Hopefully, it's not too hot, but stay hydrated, pacing yourself, and take it in and get your hands up in the air for the finish line.
Feel like
Yeah.
no matter how bad you feel, once you get to the finish shoot, everything's great.
The pain disappears.
Happy. No
Magically
more pain.
disappears within minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing that finishing shoot is always like such an excitement, and coming through, crossing the line. I don't know. I still remember the finish of my first triathlon, and it's 25 years ago. It's pretty memorable.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you'll see how long it takes you to sign up for your next one, hopefully.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then post-race parties, a lot of time they have, festivities. I think staying around for the awards is nice and just being able to celebrate your accomplishment, the accomplishment of all of those, who are around you. That's good. It's a great
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So any final words of wisdom? Anything that you haven't shared over the last 5 episodes that you feel you want to, or
Well, I
I,
think the big, go ahead, enjoy the
no,
journey is a thing. You know, nothing new on race day. And it's your, if this is your first race, there's only room for improvement. So don't be hard on yourself. And uh, even though it's your personal best because it's your first race, chances are there'll be many more personal bests as you get more efficient at it. And the old saying goes, you know, smooth is steady, steady is fast. So just keep it simple and just keep moving. That's what it comes down to.
yep. I would just say that um, it's a fun sport and it's a lifestyle. You're going to meet a lot of upbeat, positive people. Most people don't just do one and done. It becomes part of their life, and it's something we get to do. We don't have to do. It's a hobby, so don't take it with too much stress. It's supposed to be fun, and it just will make you have a healthy, happy lifestyle.
yeah. All right, great tips. And I do hope that for those of you who watched and tuned in on the series that you've learned something. Eric and Jackie, thank you so much. You've helped so many
Thanks,
people, and I
Reem.
know will continue to do so in the
Yeah,
future.
thank you. Thank you. My
Thanks, Reem.
pleasure.